Welcome to the Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe in the studios of our flagship stations, 89.3 Lakes FM and Civic Center TV on Comcast, Channel 15 and AT&T Channel 99, where you can also find us in the Birmingham-Bloomfield area on Birmingham Area Municipal Access and City Cable 15 of Southfield. Join us live on Channel 10 in Waterford every day on the Media Network of Waterford, and live to tape on Orion Neighborhood Television, otherwise known as ONTV. You can also find us on the radio in the Birmingham, Bloomfield, and Troy areas on the Biff Radio Network, a service of the Bloomfield Hills School District, and online on our Facebook pages, facebook.com/CivicCenterTV15 and facebook.com/LakesFM, on our website, CivicCenterTV.com, and on My Michigan TV, otherwise known as MiMi. That's in our 11 o'clock hour only. They don't like 10 o'clock. It's on MyMyTV.com, where you can also learn more about downloading their free MyTV apps for your smartphone and smart TV. All that information's on our website, CivicCenterTV.com/Megacast, where you can also find all of our programs on demand, as well as each individual interview. Then let's head over to our coronavirus page, where we have links to the most up-to-date information on COVID-19 from reliable expert resources at the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division, so that you can stay up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19, including precautionary tactics such as masking, vaccines, and boosters, and of course the numbers regarding the spread of COVID-19. Also on our coronavirus page, CivicCenterTV.com/coronavirus, we feature articles from many journalistic outlets throughout the state of Michigan in order to keep you updated on COVID-19 and other stories making headlines across the Great Lakes state. Our top story today from the Detroit News: the Michigan House of Representatives has okayed a bill banning mailing of unsolicited ballot applications once again. The House on Thursday adopted a series of bills largely along party lines that would ban certain practices for absentee ballots and the financing of election equipment. The legislation would stop the unsolicited mailing of absentee ballot applications, prohibit the use of digital signatures for absentee ballot applications, and ban third parties from contributing money toward election equipment. The bills, which sponsors said would help to shore up the election's security, are likely headed to a veto by Democratic Governor Gretchen Whitmer should they get through the GOP-led Senate, and we know they will. In October, Whitmer vetoed almost identical legislation. The provisions are also present in the petition initiative Secure My Vote, Secure MI Vote, currently gathering signatures in the field and expected to be sent to the legislature instead of the ballot in November. It's more likely it gets passed in the legislature. Should the GOP-led legislature adopt the proposal, if it gets enough valid signatures, it would become law and avoid Whitmer's veto pen. State Representative Andrew Beeler, a Republican from Fort Gratiot, said his bill banning electronic signatures and on absentee ballot applications addresses Michigan's quote-unquote vulnerable elections by creating transparency and accountability. Quote, "In any honest evaluation of election laws, Michigan is one of the easiest places to vote," end closed quote, Beeler said. Representative Beeler continued on by saying, quote, "In order to ensure that that each new voice is heard, we cannot afford to have unsatisfactory safeguards in place to prevent fraud." Democrats criticized the legislation as an attempt to suppress absentee voters on the unproven premise that there was fraud in the November 2020 presidential election. Quote, all these bills do is rob our disabled, our seniors, our black and brown voters from the freedom to vote," said Representative Brenda Carter, a Democrat from Pontiac. Representative Carter continued on saying, quote, "This bill will change the makeup of our electorate and negatively impact the lives of people who sit in this very chamber to serve." End closed quote. Whitmer's office, when asked about the legislation, said Thursday that the governor would, quote, "protect the will of the Michigan voters and the integrity of our elections. Robust protections are already in place to do so," said Governor Whitmer's spokesperson, Bobby Leddy, in a statement. Quote, "Every Michigander deserves to have their voice heard as they exercise their constitutional right to vote in a safe and secure election," said Leddy. One bill which passed 57-44 would ban a third party from contributing to any local governments running elections, either monetarily to purchase election equipment or election equipment itself. The bill passed with the support of 3 Democrats, Representative Sarah Cambenzi of Marquette, Representative Yusuf Rabi of Ann Arbor, and Representative Richard Steenland of Roseville. A bill prohibiting city, county, and township clerks or the Secretary of State from sending unsolicited ballot applications passed 56 to 45, with Democrats Cambensi and Steenland supporting the bills, sponsored by Representative Julie Calley, a Republican from Portland, also would prohibit clerks from making applications available earlier than 75 days prior to an election. The third bill prohibiting electronic or digital signatures for absentee ballots passed on a 58 to 43 vote, with Democratic Representatives Kevin Coleman of Westland, Tullio Liberati of Allen Park, Cambensi, and Steenland as well voting in support. Some of the bills address actions Democratic Secretary of State Jocelyn Benson took ahead of the 2020 election, when in the midst of the pandemic, she sent unsolicited absentee ballot applications to each of Michigan's 7.7 million registered voters. The state also allows an online absentee ballot application to click a box, allowing the Secretary of State to send the voter's stored digital signature to his or her city or township clerk along with the application. Benson is currently working to formalize rules explicitly allowing for the acceptance of digital signatures on absentee ballots. Representative Matt Kolazar, a Democrat from Plymouth, argued the GOP-led legislation passed Thursday will only make it harder to vote in the next election. Representative Sarah Leitner, the sponsor of the bill banning third-party contributions toward election equipment, argued elections should be funded by public funds, and to adopt another funding source would sow doubt in the integrity of elections. That full article on our website, civiccentertv.com, so you can read that news from the Detroit News in its entirety. Our next story coming to us from the Detroit Free Press: scammers are pretending there's a problem with your Social Security benefits and number, and it's not the case. Rising gas prices, rising food prices, and rising overall inflation are bound to fuel financial anxiety, especially among seniors on a very fixed income. So why should we be surprised that scammers know how to play up the fears of inflation too? Fraudsters last year engineered a sophisticated pitch to send letters to seniors to tell them that they needed to call a toll-free number to activate their cost of living adjustments for Social Security benefits, according to Gail Ennis, Inspector General for the Social Security Administration. The mail looked legitimate because the scammers sent letters that included the letterhead of the Social Security Administration. But no one needs to call a toll-free number or take any action to receive cost of living adjustments on Social Security benefits. The 5.9% cost of living adjustment was automated and began with benefits payable in January to more than 64 million Social Security beneficiaries. Social Security officials aren't texting pictures of badges either. You definitely can't always trust what you see. Fraudsters know how to spoof legitimate phone numbers out of Washington to make up the information that pops up on your caller ID look more believable. And the crooks know how to create fake versions of ID badges that many federal employees use to gain access to federal buildings. Scammers have been known to text potential victims a picture of a governmental badge to reassure you that they're the real deal. The con artists might rattle off real badge numbers, so to speak, or send emails with attachments containing personal information about a phony quote-unquote investigation. Ennis, who was part of a media call before called, quote, Slam the Scam Day, and closed quote, on Thursday, said there are 4 signs of a scam. 1, someone is pretending to be an official when they may not be. 2, they're telling you about a problem or ways to get better benefits. 3, they're pressuring you to act quickly. And 4, they're demanding that you pay in a specific way, maybe putting money on a gift card, depositing cash at an ATM that offers cryptocurrency, or wiring money directly to them. In some cases, the crooks even ask you to box up cash and mail it to them to fix the problem. One woman felt so threatened, according to Social Security experts, that she put $20,000 in cash in a box to mail to a pharmacy in Phoenix, Arizona, so that scammers could pick up the box there. But soon she felt something wasn't quite right, acted immediately to get authorities involved to help her intervene with a shipping company and get that money back, said Ennis. Don't send cash or buy gift cards if someone claims to be from a government agency. Khalil Kajikazi, acting commissioner of the Social Security Administration, said fraudsters continue to try tricking people into providing personal information or money. Scammers can pretend that there's a problem with your Social Security benefits or your number. The caller could scare you into thinking that your Social Security number has been connected to running drugs or money laundering across the border. Some might even threaten you if you don't take action quickly. Keisha Kazi said The agency received more than 586,000 reports of Social Security-related scams in fiscal year 2021 that triggered nearly $63 million in total losses. Consumers can go to oig.ssa.gov to report Social Security scams. That full article on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, so you can get more details from the Detroit Free Press from this article, as well as other supporting materials. Lastly, making headlines today at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus from our friends at Bridge, Michigan. If you're looking to hunt bobcats this fall, man, are you having a good morning today? Michigan has okayed expanding bobcat hunting season over activists' concerns. Hunters and trappers can now kill bobcats in the southern Lower Peninsula in the fall over objections from animal activists. Members of the Natural Resource Commission voted 7-0 on Thursday to create a bobcat season in more than 9 more counties: Muskegon, Montcalm, Gratiot, Saginaw, Ottawa, Kent, Ionia, Clinton, and Shiawassee counties. The wildcats with bobbed tails, which are twice the size of cats, disappeared from the Lower Peninsula after the logging boom in the late 1800s, but can now be found in every Michigan county. In addition to creating an 11-day season in the southern county, state regulators also expanded the hunting and trapping season in the northern Lower Peninsula to 20 days with 2 full weekends. The limit per hunter remains 1 bobcat. Quote, "The population is fairly resilient and able to absorb harvest pressure," said Adam Bump, a bear and fur bearer specialist for the Department of Natural Resources, which recommended the expanded season. Quote, "When we were opening those 9 counties, we're really just opening a larger area to harvest the same population," and close quote. Natural Resources Commissioner David Nyberg said state data indicates that bobcat population is expanding and can support the expanded hunt. Quote, "We're also going to be able to further support the actual act of conservation through the funding of licensed dollars that support that work," and close quote, said Nyberg. Expanding bobcat hunting to the southern Lower Peninsula means more people can buy licenses that fund the state's wildlife conservation efforts. In 2020, some 13,400 people registered to hunt or trap a bobcat. It costs $15 for a fur bearer hunting license for those ages 10 and 64. That price drops to $6 for people who are 65 and older. Proponents say the expansion won't impact the population of bobcats because they are hard to hunt and trap. One Michigan survey found that only 365 of 2,810 people who hunted bobcats in northern Michigan actually bagged one. Michael Schippa of the Michigan Versatile Hunting Dog Federation said he has been catching and releasing bobcats for 25 years. He said he believes bobcats in Michigan have come from states like Ohio and Indiana. Quote, "The expansion is a very conservative approach the DNR is taking," Schippa said, continuing on. "We have animals going back and forth across state borders. We will always have that exchange," and closed quote. But animal advocates oppose the hunt because the bobcats are primarily killed for their pelts. Quote, "This proposed expansion will cause untold harm to bobcats and kittens hunting and trapping orphan-dependent kittens, leaving them to starve or die of predation or closure," in close quote, said Molly Temlevich, the Michigan director for the Humane Society of the United States. Another speaker, Trish Marie, said that she worries that the expanded hunt will increase the rodent population in the southern Lower Peninsula. Quote, "I have a kajillion squirrels covering my property." Yes, that is a real quote. "I have a kajillion squirrels covering my property, and the primary prey of bobcats is squirrels," Marie said. Continuing on, "Bobcats play an important role in keeping the number of squirrels, chipmunks, and other rodents down." Marie also noted that the DNR is recommending expanded bobcat seasons when other states are restricting or banning killing the animal. Some states, including Illinois and Colorado, have considered legislation to ban hunting and trapping bobcats. California prohibits hunting outright of bobcats in 2019. That's when they prohibited it. And Iowa last year dropped plans to expand hunting due to resident opposition. All of those articles on our website, civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, as well as those helpful links to accurate information from the CDC, the MDHHS, and the Oakland County Health Division. Let's just go on theme. A kajillion different resources you can trust through those 3 organizations on COVID-19. We have a great program ahead today on this Friday edition of the Megacast. Coming up next, we'll be joined by James Pappas, owner of Fusco, Shaffer and Pappas Incorporated, architects and planners. That's up next. You're watching and listening to the Oakland County Megacast.
To Sofía and Gabriel, Even though these old knees can't follow on your adventure to the forest today, these flowers represent my love. These stitches and threads join us together. And wherever you see a flower, a bird, a beautiful tree, know that my love is with you.
Make the forest part of your story at a park near you. Find one at discovertheforest.org.
72.7% of high school students get less than the recommended 7 to 9 hours of sleep a night. This can cause pain, obesity, and can very negatively affect your mental health. When you have a consistent 7 to 9 hours of sleep every day, you get sick less often, lose more weight, and have better relationships with those around you. For more information about the dangers of sleep deprivation, go to sleepfoundation.org. This message is brought to you by the WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
Can I ask you a question?
Why did you get your kids vaccinated?
It was hard for them to social distance, to be isolated from their friends.
I want them to get back to school and sports games. So as a pediatrician, I recommend the vaccine to everyone I know.
The boys lost a former teammate and classmate who was only 20 years old. It's been a devastating year.
We want to get back to normalcy. Our daughter is really looking forward to being with her friends, being a kid.
It's the Great Lakes water. And so what people do ends up in our waterways.
Flushable wipes are just evil. They should be thrown away. They're impossible to destroy, and they can cause significant problems.
One of the main things when you're cooking is to not dump fats, oils, and greases down your drains.
They stick to the sides of pipes, they stick to everything they come in contact with. Don't put it down the sink.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources. Call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Welcome back to the Oakland County Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. For more information on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Michigan is chock full of exceptional architecture, and the tradition is continuing across our state. One Michigan architecture firm is doing its part to create beautiful, artful buildings while also assisting nonprofits in the Great Lakes state. Joining us now is the owner of Fusco, Shaffer and Pappas Incorporated, architects and planners, James Pappas. James, thank you for being with us today.
Good morning, Tyler. Thank you for having me on the program.
Appreciate having you on. So tell us first about your business, about Fusco, Shaffer and Pappas Architects, and some of the different designs that you have been part of, or your company has been part of here in the state of Michigan.
Well, thank you. Our firm is located in Ferndale, Michigan, and we have a staff of 30 people. Then approximately half of our work is with nonprofit organizations throughout southeastern Michigan. Some of those include the Pope Francis, and we're working on a new Pope Francis Center in the city of Detroit. Other organizations include neighborhood service organizations, and we're working with them on a new shelter currently under construction in the city of Detroit as well. Other groups include Presbyterian Villages of Michigan. We are working with them on multiple projects throughout the state. And organizations like Lighthouse in Pontiac that provide services to homeless individuals as well as people in need. So we've, over the years, we've made a conscious effort to try to work with nonprofit organizations and assist them in their journey of helping people in need.
So where did that motivation or where did that effort for your company start? Because I would think it's pretty unconventional for an architecture firm like yours to put that kind of work in for charities and nonprofits on top of regular clients that you're also supporting.
Well, when we work with these organizations, it's not on just a pro bono basis. There is, there is funding for the project. So we do get paid to work on the majority of these projects, but it's still we've made that effort, like I said, over the years, purposely. I think it started really when I joined the firm many years ago with Jude Fusco, who was the founder of the firm, and he's been passed away now, but kind of instilled in me the importance of working with organizations like that, and it continued it to this day.
And so these organizations, they're typically on very fixed dollar amount for what they can put into projects such as this to improve their buildings, let alone to build new facilities entirely. How does that for a firm like yours to be able to put its plans into fruition, but also fit the vision of these different organizations? How are you able to balance that, knowing that some projects may go over budget, some projects may be under budget in any architecture or planning situation, but especially for nonprofits, knowing that they have very specific needs and typically there's not a whole lot of flexibility there?
That's very true. Going into these projects, we typically have a fixed budget, and there really is no additional resources that you can go back and secure additional funds. So it's important that we work very closely with these organizations. They have a vision that it's our responsibility to achieve that vision as best we can. But we're still locked into, budget, so that we need to develop our designs that fit the criteria of the budget as well as our vision. It's a balancing act that, that in any architectural project, there's always a budget, and you have to balance that with the vision of the client.
So we recently spoke with Aisha Murrell Ferguson from COTS Detroit, one of the many great charities and nonprofits in the state of Michigan, and you're actually working on a project with them at this time. Can you tell us about that project and the ways that your architecture firm is helping support the vision of this particular charity and nonprofit?
The COTS project was a unique project. It's located on Peterborough, just off of Woodward. It's a high-rise building that was in need of renovation, and utilizing tax credit dollars as well as historical tax credit and low-income tax credit and several other sources through the City of Detroit and other organizations. We were able to do a complete renovation on the building, maintain many of the historical elements. It was originally built as a hotel many years ago. And then we were able to renovate the building into an adaptive reuse to utilize it as supportive housing for individuals that were previously homeless.
We're joined by James Pappas, the CEO and owner of Fusco, Shaffer and Pappas Incorporated Architects and Planners, joining us on the Megacast. You also mentioned earlier you've been doing work on the Pope Francis Center as well. Can you tell us about that project and the ways that your business is helping to impact their facility?
Pope Francis is just a wonderful organization run by Father Tim McCabe, a unique and amazing individual that had a vision to create bridge housing for those homeless individuals in the city of Detroit that have fallen through the cracks and not been able to get any housing in any other manner. We've worked closely with his vision to create that concept design. And I can tell you, we are just about to start construction. We've had a groundbreaking, and we're finalizing all the steps for permitting, and construction that is starting shortly. It's a wonderful organization.
So what is the process for these different projects when you're working with a nonprofit organization versus a more traditional sort of clientele, like a business or a developer? How does that approach how does that approach happen differently when you're working with a charity or nonprofit versus another client?
Well, with the nonprofits, the funding sources are your typical client utilizes a conventional financing, through a bank or lending source. Where a nonprofit, there's really two options. They can utilize some type of government type funding, whether it be through the federal or state governments, and donations. The Pope Francis, for example, is being funded 100% by donations to the organization. So there's the process of collecting donations and simultaneously working through the design process to a point that the ownership team felt secure that they could actually start construction now with enough dollars in hand to safely move forward and not have any delays during the construction process.
So we've talked multiple times in our discussion so far about budgeting and how that fixed budget for these nonprofits and their projects is a big factor in the design and the execution of these building projects. So I would think that efficiency in the execution of those plans is important, but also in the designs themselves. Can you give us some insight on some of the designs that your company has done for these different nonprofits that's incorporated some sort of efficiency into that design that allows for multiple uses of one area versus another, or some flexibility for these nonprofits so that they can get as much use out of their facilities that they are working with you on as possible?
It's a good example of that is the Pope Francis Center. All of the spaces, for example, there's a dining space, but it's also designed in such a way that it can be used for gathering activities, group activities, and even outside community activities. There is a gymnasium as part of that design that is going to be utilized for the residents as well as for the community to use on certain times. And then that same space, when the weather is bad, can be used as an overflow shelter space. So that as we design these spaces, you're absolutely correct that we need to keep in mind that spaces need to be functional, multiple uses, and not so that they can be in use as much of the time as possible.
We're joined by James Pappas, the CEO and owner of Fusco, Shaffer and Pappas Incorporated Architects and Planners, joining us on the Megacast. Earlier this week, during Mayor Mike Duggan of Detroit's State of the City address, he recognized your architecture firm's projects, including the Friendship Meadows, University Meadows, Transfiguration Place, Brainerd Apartments, and Peterborough Arms. Can you talk about each of these projects and your work in the city of Detroit to help assist with their resurgence down there? Because Detroit was never gone. It's not coming back. It's resurging, and it's kind of reforming itself into the future.
Well, and there's a combination on these projects. Several of them were renovations of existing buildings, and that's an important piece of the resurgence in the city of Detroit. Some of these buildings were occupied but in need of substantial renovation. Others were unoccupied or in a state of disrepair and needed substantial. And some of them were new construction. But as you mentioned, all those, the Transfiguration one was a unique building. Maybe I just highlight that one a little bit in the city of Detroit. It was a former Catholic school that had been closed for a number of years. And we got involved with that project and converted it to residential units. Just a unique space. Each classroom was converted to a complete one-bedroom apartment. And again, the target occupancy for that, again, is supportive housing, again, targeting individuals that may have been previously homeless. So it's a win-win. You had a vacant school building that, you take any building, and if you leave it vacant, it gets into a state of disrepair. And by this conversion and adaptive reuse, and now we've got a viable living space for a number of people.
Yeah, and that's what's so great about a lot of these projects is it's taking that historical architecture of the city of Detroit without adulterating it or replacing it entirely. It's maintaining that architecture, that unique Detroit identity visually, while also providing great purpose to the city. And of course, those projects that are providing home spaces for living spaces for the homeless are a huge benefit to the city of Detroit, as they would be in any major city. We're joined by James Pappas, the owner of Fusco, Shaffer and Pappas Incorporated, architects and planners, joining us on the Megacast. And let's have you touch on that real briefly, the maintenance of that architectural identity of Detroit, and some of these buildings that you are going into, or that other architects and other firms are going into to redesign or to repurpose. Part of that, of course, a big part is the functionality. You want to make that a functional space for whatever purpose it's going to be used going forward. But like I said, Detroit has its own unique architectural identity. So how do you work to maintain that architectural identity while also bringing utility to these spaces for the future?
It's critical, especially on buildings with historical significance, as you mentioned, that we make every effort and work closely with the project's historical consultant as well as the state SHPO office, so that the historical integrity of the building is maintained. Elements of the exterior facade, the window designs, as well as interior components. We're currently starting work on a project called Lee Plaza, and the exterior historical significance as well as the interior. It's just a grandiose building that the ultimate goal here is to restore it back to its original historical elements and historical beauty.
James, any more interesting projects coming up with your firm that we should be on the lookout for in the near future?
Well, the one I just mentioned, the Lee Plaza, I believe the mayor did mention that project, and it's one we're just getting into the design phase on. It sits right on the boulevard, and it's very visible it's on West Grand Boulevard near Grand River, and very visible because it's one of the few high rises in that area. So keep an eye open for that one, and as the renovation starts, you'll see one of Detroit's gems brought back to life.
James, thank you so much for joining us and talking about these great projects that you're working on and some more designs we will be seeing in the very near future.
Thank you so much, Tyler.
Appreciate it. You can learn more information about Fusco, Shaffer and Pappas Incorporated by visiting their website at fuscoshafferpappas.com. That is FUSCO SHAFFERPAPPAS.com. FUSCOSHAFFERPAPPAS.com. FuscoShafferPappas.com. We're going to take a break. On the other side, the Oakland County Megacast continues with the Better Business Bureau of Michigan's Melanie Ducanel, who will help you avoid being scammed in your charitable efforts. Of course, we had earlier in our articles on civiccentertv.com/megacast an article about Social Security scams. There's also scams with charitable efforts, especially as people are trying to help those that are trapped in Ukraine or are escaping Ukraine or have already escaped Ukraine. So you're going to want to listen to this great advice coming up from Melanie Ducanel of the Better Business Bureau of Michigan. That's up next. This is the Oakland County Megacast.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Neighborhood storm drains carry water directly to local creeks and streams. No filters, no treatment.
Storm drains also help reduce street flooding when it rains.
So clearing storm drains and the areas nearby of trash and leaves helps keep them for rain only.
It is easy to do your part by adopting a storm drain.
Find a storm drain, check it, and clear it every month.
So keep storm drains for rain only.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM. Joining us now from the Michigan Better Business Bureau is their president and CEO, Melanie Ducano, back with us on the Megacast. Melanie, thank you for being with us today.
Thanks for having us, Tyler.
Appreciate it. So, as we all know, as we've seen over the past nearly 2 weeks at this point, tragedy in Ukraine as the Russian army has launched a full-scale invasion of the sovereign nation of Ukraine, a refugee crisis we haven't seen since World War II. Over 1.5 million people already have fled the country and counting. There is a great need for help for those in Ukraine, and many charities, many organizations across the world are going on the front lines to help those of Ukrainian descent overseas that are fleeing Ukraine, and especially those that are in Ukraine. However, like with any other crisis, like with any other charitable opportunity that people are looking to tap into and to help with the cause of, that also leads to the doors opening for scammers to get out there and take advantage of the generosity of people. Let's start off with what people should be looking out for when they're looking to donate to these organizations that are looking to help those in Ukraine or help those that are helping those in these areas. What should they be looking out for in order to determine that this is a legitimate charity?
So first and foremost, have you ever heard of the charity before? Many people are thinking because it's a Ukrainian need, you may not have heard of the charity. There are global charities out there like American Red Cross. Even though it says American, their Red Cross actually connects on a global scale. So that's just one example. But when you're looking at the charity, do they have the ability to provide the services to the Ukrainians, either at the border or within their country? Were they already there before the war started? Because getting into the country now to provide services and humanitarian aid is really challenging when so many are leaving the country and trying to establish infrastructure for any kind of humanitarian need is going to be daunting right now in light of all the war that's going on.
And so when we see these opportunities to help people across the world, even help people right here in the U.S. pop up, whatever the crisis may be, a natural disaster or a human-made disaster, we do, as I mentioned before, see these scams pop up. So far, even given that it's only been a relatively short amount of time, just under 2 weeks since the invasion of Ukraine began, is the Better Business Bureau seeing a rash of these scam artists begin to make these charity scams related to Ukraine, and just how much of a problem has it already been for consumers?
Well, it hasn't been a real problem yet. It hasn't kind of gotten its sea legs yet, but recognize that it is happening. There are just people that may have not have brought it to our attention. Because we're talking about a foreign country, people think that they have to do things in a very different way. So they may not have realized that they've given personal information. They may not have realized that they have given away their credit card number. So sometimes the return of the bad news has not yet hit because it has only been 2 weeks. But probably the easiest place where these kind of scams pop up is what we affectionately called crowdfunding sites, GoFundMe, those kind of things. What is interesting about GoFundMe, which is a BBB accredited business, we are working with them diligently to make sure that they don't have any replicated pictures that really don't belong to the owner of that new outreach. So when you're looking at a site like a GoFundMe, look at how many times a particular picture may pop up and saying that they're this charity or this family that's trying to do some good work. If that picture multiplies itself more than once, it's a red flag. Step back, do your due diligence, look at who's the one that's organizing this. Is it a national or international charity? What are they doing to, what kind of aid are they providing? And then do some verifications on that group. You know, step away from the GoFundMe, open up a new browser window, look at what that charity does. And then ask around, ask your friends, go to give.org, which is our sister organization called the Wise Giving Alliance. we accredit charities on 20 standards of trust. And when you're looking at that, we put them through the paces to make sure that they're supposed to do what they advertise that they're doing.
We're joined by Melanie Ducanel, the president and CEO of the Michigan Better Business Bureau, joining us on the Megacast as we talk about charity scams, and we see these things develop when these do start to develop. You mentioned that some of these scams, we haven't really seen a big problem with them just yet because they haven't quite developed their sea legs, as you said. They haven't really nailed down their strategy and been able to affect a wide range of people. As that does happen, as people have been scammed in the currently or in the future by these nefarious actors, what are some steps that they can take, or what are steps that organizations like yourself and certainly law enforcement can take in order to counteract the actions of these people that are taking advantage of the generosity of others?
Well, first, if you're going to donate money to an organization that you may not have any real connection to, if you have the means to have a separate credit card, never give with a debit card because you're giving them direct access to your checking or savings account. But if you have a separate credit card that has a very low maximum credit amount, let's say $500, and you're willing to potentially lose $500, then you can use that credit card. But when you use a debit card and you leave that debit card open, you run the risk of them coming back to get more money out of that account. So again, the credit card allows you some protections. If in fact you come to find that your money didn't go to the right charity that you thought you were giving to, you can go back to the credit card company and they can attempt, not guarantee, they can attempt to get your money back.
We're joined by Melanie Ducanel, the president and CEO of the Michigan Better Business Bureau, joining us on the Megacast. And so even some legitimate organizations, some legitimate charities or organizations that will be doing relief work here in the U.S. or around the world with different crises, such as, of course, the invasion of Ukraine and the war that is underway over there in Eastern Europe, some of them will be doing great work, but they'll also not entirely be giving all of their funding that's through donations to that specific work. So when we see claims of 100% will be spent on relief, does that actually mean 100%, or is there a way for consumers that are willing to donate to these organizations to verify whether or not the entirety of their donation is actually going to be going toward what they're donating for?
Historically, the way that a donor can mandate that it goes to a specific cause is to have actually a pretty sizable donation where they are going to put it in an endowment or do something of that sort, where they can really make the donation what they call restricted. But in a general situation where you're just going through a text giving platform or you're donating online, those funds can generally be used, excusing multiple words, general fund, where the charity can use it wherever they need it. When they say that 100% will be spent on relief, it's a red flag, because the cost of getting the materials there, to acquire the materials, the staffing cost, what do they really mean by what 100% of that cost is? And if it does include all that, they may be accurate in their statement, but you have to pick at the points to make sure that they say what they're going to do, or they're going to do what they're going to say, what they say.
We're joined by Melanie Ducanel, the president and CEO of the Michigan Better Business Bureau, joining us on the Megacast. And so, Melanie, when scams do pop up, how often do these scams develop? Is it usually a group of people? Is it usually individuals that are perpetrating these scams? And just how extensive can these, especially charity scams, end up getting?
Extensive from the charity scam can be a Bernie Madoff. Bernie Madoff went after all kinds of charities and higher education, as well as daycares that were in his community. So the scam can morph itself into something huge. But let's talk about the recent tornado that happened yesterday in Iowa.
Yeah.
You're going to find people that are going to want to donate, want to send clothes, want to send food, and they don't necessarily know how to get it there. that's when going with a more national charity for direction and guidance is really helpful, just to make sure your investment in that charity or in the people of the Ukraine or Iowa get the funds you want them to. You know, it is maddening to donate to something and they haven't used it in the manner in which you had thought they would. So understanding when you go to write the check or you hand them your credit card, what do you really want the funds to go to? The Ukrainian Center in Warren right now is collecting goods and shipping it overseas. Recognize that it's going to take several weeks for those things to get there because they have to go through customs on both sides. We don't know exactly where in Poland, Moldova, wherever the country is outside of the Ukraine, where they're going to be able to set up shop and get these things deployed. So recognize patience is imperative, but also your homework is probably even more important. Just to understand how they're going to do it, where they're going to do it, how long is it going to take, and are you going to get any recognition of your investment? So depending again on how much you donate to a charity, they may send you some pictures of what's going on, how your money's being deployed. And those are really helpful, but it isn't always a guarantee that you're going to have your money going exactly where they say.
And that's all the more reason why it's really important before you're donating to a charity or a nonprofit that you're not entirely familiar with, that you do your research. Even if it isn't a legitimate organization, you want to make sure that you know what you're getting involved with. So for those that are interested in donating, for those that are in need of doing that research, where are some good places for them to start, Melanie?
So we have a list on give.org/news/wisegiving. And if you were just to go to give.org and put Ukraine, we have a list of about 20 accredited charities that are really focused on Ukrainian relief. So as an example, looking at this, the AmeriCares Foundation, Care USA, Catholic Relief Services, Mercy Corps, Salvation Army, Operation USA, Save the Children, and that there's quite a few more after that. But we've already accredited these charities. We have verified through our standards of trust with them that they do what they say they're going to do and how they're going to do it. So maybe start there because we've done the homework for you. But if you have a friend through Facebook that all of a sudden says, hey, so-and-so is saying we should donate through here, take a step back, look at a different way to do it, because sadly, at least 60% of the time, I want to say 9 times out of 10, but I'm not 100% sure on that one, but at least 60% of the time, you don't know where that money went. You can't verify it. There's no paper trail, and you can't make sure that what you want to have done was done.
We're joined by Melanie Ducanel, the president and CEO of the Michigan Better Business Bureau, joining us on the Megacast. Of course, the website she's mentioning through Better Business Bureau partnerships is give.org. Go to give.org. Top of that page, there's going to be a link to news. If you go to there at the top of the page, on that next page over, you'll have a link at the top that says Give Wisely. It'll give information on how to do that research, how to look into some of these organizations you may be donating to, and that page she mentioned about donating to causes in support of the Ukrainians, both in Ukraine currently and those who have fled the country, to make sure you're donating to accredited charities. That's give.org. You can also learn more information from the Better Business Bureau directly at bbb.org. Melanie, here in the state of Michigan, outside of these charity scams at this time, are there any other common scams that we're seeing afflicting consumers in the state of Michigan that people should be aware of?
Well, it's that time of year. It's called the IRS tax scam. Mm-hmm. We're all getting our taxes together, giving it to our accountants, or trying to do it on our own. And out of the blue, you get the call from a tax man or woman saying that you're delinquent. And it's all driven on fear, hoping that, for goodness sakes, you're going to be just a little uncertain and you're going to go pay for your taxes with a gift card. The IRS never will ask you to pay for your taxes with a gift card. Additionally, the IRS never will call you and demand immediate payment. So the IRS always starts with what I affectionately call snail mail. If they have a problem with your taxes, they have a couple of questions about your tax return, they're going to send you a letter, a regular old letter. And then you're going to have a direct person to contact, and you know the system on which that all will occur. When you get out of the blue, and it actually comes through as text messages too. So be aware that they don't care if it's your cell phone or your home phone. And sometimes they'll even send you an email, because their intention is to overwhelm their email systems or overwhelm the phone system and find that one person that is just a little unsure to, excuse the expression, but pull the trigger and go get those gift cards to pay their taxes. They're never going to pay their taxes that way. They're paying somebody else. So even though the phone number may look like it's from the IRS, don't believe it, because caller ID in this particular situation can be fibbed, can be flat out lying to you. So you want to make sure that if the IRS does call, say thank you, I will call you guys back, and then start the process over directly. Go to the IRS website, irs.gov, and they have contact means through that, and then start it that way. Do not engage anybody on the telephone for the IRS.
Yeah, what's the IRS going to do with a gift card anyway? You gotta think about that. What do they need a gift card for?
Maybe they had some presents they needed to give. Maybe it's a baby shower or a wedding. Or
here's the present. Here's the present you give to those IRS officials that are asking for your gift card. You take the phone, you hang up on them. There's your present. Melanie, thank you so much for joining us. Is there anything else at this time that we haven't discussed that would be important for Michiganders to be considering at this moment?
Just if you have any questions, give us a call. We can walk you through anything. So especially robocalls are coming. If you get a robocall, hang up. There's no value in a robocall these days that I am aware of, unless it's your DTE or Consumers Energy is because you've got no power. But that being said, just if you have any questions, give us a call. You can reach us Monday through Friday from 8 until 4:30. So, we're here. We can listen to any and all problems, and we're more than willing to help you get through it.
Melanie, thank you so much.
Thank you.
We as Michiganders feel connected to this resource in a way that I think is really powerful.
Conservation starts with a caring, committed community.
For me, it's peaceful to have a relationship with the river.
Every single one of us has a role to make sure that those waterways stay safe and healthy, being careful about what goes down the storm drain.
Just even eliminating some of your single-use plastic makes a difference.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
Did you know that nearly 3.31 million Americans don't get their annual checkup? Going to the doctor regularly is extremely important and is a crucial factor in maintaining good health. Make sure you are visiting your local doctor often and telling them about any health concerns you have. For more information, contact your local healthcare provider. This message is brought to you by WBHS Digital Media Arts Program and 89.3 Lakes FM.
People are getting out to walk and bike in higher numbers. More vulnerable road users and higher speed traffic can be a dangerous combination. Crash severity has increased, so if you're driving, be sure to slow down and look for people. There's no need to speed. If you're biking, ride with traffic. If you're walking, avoid stepping into the road if possible. If you have to walk in the street, walk facing traffic. Learn more at walkbikedrivesafe.org.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211. Get connected, get help.
Parents do a lot of worrying. Get your kids caught up on childhood vaccines to protect them from these 14 preventable diseases, and you'll have 14 fewer things to worry about. Vaccines are safe and effective and save lives. So let's get caught up on vaccines and worry about something else. Get the facts at ivaccinate.org.
Welcome to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information about our entire network of stations, including our radio homes for the program, 89.3 WBLD Orchard Lake and 88.1 WBFH Bloomfield Hills, as well as over-the-top outlets such as My Michigan TV, otherwise known as MiSci. March is National Social Worker Month, and joining us now is a co-responder clinician who partners with the Bloomfield Township, Auburn Hills, and Birmingham Police Departments in order to help citizens who come in contact with their local law enforcement. Hillary Nussbaum from Dr. Kendall and Associates joins us now on the Michigan Megacast. Thank you for being with us, Hillary.
Thank you.
Great
to be here.
Yeah, appreciate your time. So you're a co-responder clinician and you're also a therapist at Dr. Kendall and Associates. Can you tell us about your background and what led you to wanting to go into this line of work, be a therapist, and help people in our local community?
So I have a background as far as professionally in school social work. So I've been a school social worker for 11 years prior to this job. My stepfather was the public safety director out in Coldwater, Michigan. And he really inspired me watching him do his job. And I have, a knowledge that both military and law enforcement, first responders, really lack having any kind of, trauma training or background, with when it comes to encountering mental health. So one of the things I've always wanted to do is work with law enforcement or first responders in some way, shape, or form in my career. And so when this opportunity presented itself through Oakland Community Health Network, I threw my name in the hat and said, this is something I want to go for.
And so let's elaborate on that. You mentioned military and law enforcement and some of their issues with interacting with people that may have mental health concerns or may have mental health factors that are impacting their behavior. We've heard so much about reform of law enforcement or greater training for law enforcement over the last couple of years. From your perspective, having worked with law enforcement but also worked in mental health capacity and as a social worker, what are some of those lacking areas that you help police departments and that you help others sort of bridge those gaps in considering mental health and considering trauma in their approach to law enforcement?
Yeah, I think pairing a social worker with police specifically, I can speak about my job. Police don't necessarily have the training and background in, mental health disorders, certain types of like psychotropic medications that get used for disorders, trauma training, crisis de-escalation techniques. Those are all skills that certain social workers have, and a lot of mental health clinicians are very aware of. So those are things that we can bring to the table to help out with police and pair with them. I know that we are working really hard to help police get trained in some sort of mental health initiatives. So we have a crisis intervention training, CIT, that puts police through 40 hours of mental health training, which is wonderful because it just introduces them to certain skills that they can use while they're on the job. And that's one thing that I know that Oakland County is really serious about, trying to get some of these departments trained in that.
And so let's talk about the way that this sort of training can be effective or more effective than traditional protocols in law enforcement for approaching law enforcement situations, especially more tense situations with potential criminals or just people out in the community that may be causing a disturbance in any sort of moment. When you have that trauma training, that mental health training, and you're approaching that situation as an officer, from what you're training these officers and the CIT training that they're undergoing, how is that approach different from what they are traditionally utilizing as their approach to these sort of situations?
I think traditionally police tend to have let's get to the call, let's problem solve as quickly as we can, and make sure that we get that person wherever they need to go and we move to the next call. Police have a lot of calls that come in. And so they are constantly going from one call to the next. So I think, historically, police are trying to get through things as quickly and effectively as they can. However, they haven't had the mental health resources. So part of CIT training is slowing down, especially when you're on a mental health call. Really working on verbally de-escalating a situation, thinking about what the best approach is for how to handle a situation. Is the hospital the best place to take someone, or should we be looking at, common ground services? Or does that person already have therapy and maybe we just need to contact a clinician? So it's really just slowing down that problem solving a little bit, and together, like me along with police, really thinking about what is the best course of action here. And even though it might take more time than a typical call, it's making sure that we're getting that person the best resources in the most effective way we can.
And so how effective are these methods in de-escalating these sorts of situations that may be quite tense or even dangerous for the person involved as well as law enforcement and those in the surrounding areas? How effective are these methods in de-escalating those situations, and then on top of that, helping these individuals that may need greater assistance from their community to prevent them from returning to a similar situation in the future?
Yeah, so that's a great question. We're actually collecting quite a bit of data on that right now. One of the big outcome measures that we're looking at is use of force. If we can lessen the use of force techniques used by police, then it's already positive. It's already being effective. And we are seeing that there's less use of force on certain scenes, less arrests and more jail diversion, meaning trying to get people mental health help and resources if that's what they need. We are working really hard on making sure that people have access to, Oakland Community Health Network gives access to many different providers. So we have a lot of data showing that people are getting connected to those providers and actually getting those resources that they need, rather than police showing up and maybe just taking them to the hospital, or sometimes they're just left under the care of themselves or another person. And that has been the traditional way of doing things. So the data that we have currently is backing up, that having a mental health clinician is effective.
And what has been the response from those in law enforcement that you are assisting with this training, or that you are assisting in the response to these different calls that they're going on? What's their response to what they've been experiencing in this different paradigm, and how it's allowed them to do their job effectively?
I've had a very positive response. I've been pleasantly surprised, knowing that the police have such a family oriented, nature among each other, that to enter as an outsider is difficult. And so, I've been really welcomed quite warmly and have had a great response. I get called to scenes a couple times a day when I'm working, and I get a lot of referrals from police to follow up with individuals. And I'm beginning to form those relationships with officers, with detectives, with police staff, just to begin really working more efficiently together. So it's been a really great experience so far.
We're joined by Hillary Nussbaum, co-responder clinician and therapist at Dr. Kendall and Associates, joining us on the Michigan Megacast. More information from Dr. Kendall and Associates on their website, drkendalandassociates.com. Kendall with one L at the end, drkendalandassociates.com. And so, has the COVID-19 pandemic how has the COVID-19 pandemic had an impact on the necessity for greater mental health services in our community. And then with that response, how has that impacted not just local police, but also public safety and the community approach to mental health in general?
Well, I think COVID-19 has had a major impact on mental health. I think it's raised anxiety across the board. When I worked for the schools, we've seen a major impact with kids having higher anxiety. Families being at home together and working from home creates more, family trouble type situations coming up. There's more, when you have more people packed into a house, it can create more problems along the way. So certainly the anxiety has raised. I think there's been economic issues. People have lost jobs. There's been quite a bit of disturbance from COVID-19 for obvious reasons, but that also increases stress for families and individuals. And that's more calls to 911 and more calls to police to come to their home to help out. So police are definitely seeing it, I think, across the board, and seeing the rise in mental health cases and need. And I think that's why they're very happy to have a mental health clinician come along and try to help take some of that load.
And so, Hillary, take us to the scene of these calls. When you and when officers or other law enforcement officials are responding to these calls, you get on site, you have some information maybe about the person or the people that are involved in the disturbance that's being called in, but you may not have the full story to really be able to approach this person with the care that's necessary, but also the caution that's necessary for them, for the officers in the greater community. So where does that approach start in this particular methodology when you get on site to these calls?
Yeah, so kind of from point A through Z, I carry a prep radio just like a police officer. So they're able to let me know if a scene is safe for me to approach or not. If it's not, then I wait for them to essentially make sure that the scene is safe. When I approach, usually an officer will greet me and kind of give me a quick rundown of the situation, and then let me know how I can be most useful. And so when I enter that scene, and try to talk to that individual, I might help de-escalate a situation. I may be working with the officers and trying to problem solve, like, what's the most effective path for this person moving forward? Are we looking at common ground? Are we just able to de-escalate and leave that individual here with resources? Or what's the most effective way, kind of moving forward? So together we kind of problem solve and make a plan, and then go from there. So walking into a scene, usually I have a little bit of information from dispatch, and then that officer will greet me and sort of tell me what's going on. And it's gone pretty smoothly for the most part. I mean, we are both learning each other. I'm learning the police world. Police are learning, how I can be useful on a scene. So we're learning that together.
We're joined by Hillary Nussbaum from Dr. Kendall and Associates, joining us on the Megacast, a co-responder clinician and also a therapist with Dr. Kendall and Associates. I want to give you a few minutes to talk about the work that is done at Dr. Kendall and Associates and some of the services that people in our community, as well as organizations in our community, can utilize through this company.
Sure. So I have a private practice with Dr. Kendall and Associates, and they specialize with anxiety, trauma. They work with children ages 0 through 18. They have a nurse practitioner on board that can help with medication purposes. So it's really a come one, come all type service. We really try to reach as many different cohorts of people as we can. I think it's also important to say that I am an employee of Oakland Community Health Network, which has allowed me to do this job with police and work with them. And so they've really opened up this position, and are really working with Oakland County Police to allow more clinicians to be involved. So they have providers like Easter Seals, community, a lot of community providers and those kinds of things that can help with services for individuals.
So lastly, before we let you go, if our viewers are having mental health issues themselves, they're noticing their mental health slipping, or they're having some issues maintaining their mental health, or they know someone in their life that is, what are those first steps that they should be taking to get help from someone like yourself or other professionals, Dr. Kendall and Associates and other organizations locally and across Michigan, if they are in need of help?
I mean, certainly what I would do is start with whatever insurance that individual has, and there should be a number on the back, and they can call and see what providers actually will work with them so they don't hit a lot of barriers in trying to receive services. If you don't have insurance, you can contact Easter Seals, and they can try to help you get services, that way. I would say Oakland County has an access program, and they are kind of the front door to getting services for anybody in Oakland County who needs it. So I would contact Access. You can just Google that, and they work with Oakland Community Health Network.
We appreciate your time. Thank you so much for joining us, Hillary.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. Hillary Nussbaum from Dr. Kendall and Associates with us on the Michigan Megacast. More information on Dr. Kendall and Associates, so you can get in contact with them and learn more about what they do in our communities as well by visiting drkendalandassociates.com. Kendall, of course, with one L, drkendalandassociates.com. We thank Hillary for being with us today. We'll take a short break, and when we return, the Michigan-Ohio rivalry continues. While we are far superior in every way, as Ohio is the worst place on earth and where dreams go to die, some don't believe that. We do, and we also have the best museum, not only in the county, not only in the state, but in the country, and it's competing with some gross Ohioans for the national crown. We'll talk to Dr. Christian Greer next from the Michigan Science Center on the Michigan Megacast.
We may come from different organizations,
but we work together to protect the Huron River for everyone.
Most of the pollution that goes into our rivers is carried by rainwater that flows off of roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
The leaves and bark of a single tree can retain a surprising amount of rainwater. Depending on its size and species, it could be 100 gallons or more.
It is estimated that an urban forest can reduce annual runoff by up to 7%.
Here's one thing that we know can help keep our water clean.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
Plant a tree.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
One of the things you can look for in your friends is a change in behavior.
These can be big changes, they can be small changes in mood, physical appearance.
They may be sleeping less or sleeping more, drinking more, or their eating patterns may be different.
One big change that can be pretty obvious is change in motivation. Do they no longer want to play basketball? Do they no longer want to play video games?
Now that we're spending more time online and in virtual settings, it's really important to pay attention to the language that your friend is using and the words they're using to communicate.
So when we text our friends, are they taking longer amounts of time to respond? Are they not responding at all? You don't have to be an expert to try to recognize these signs. The second that you feel it in your gut and that you're concerned, that's the second to have the conversation and open the door to what might be going on.
Whatever gets you talking. Today, it is easier than ever to join Michigan's Organ Donor Registry and help build a bridge of hope for organ, tissue, and eye donation. Just one person can potentially save or help improve the lives of up to 75 people. By joining, your legacy could be the gift of life. Sign up today at michigan.gov/SOS or at any of the more than 145 Secretary of State self-service stations located across Michigan. Be part of Michigan's Bridge of Hope by adding your name to the Organ Donor Registry.
When times get dark, we can't see the help that's all around us. When you don't know where to turn, let 211 be your guiding light.
How can I help you?
Our guides are ready to connect you with the help you need. For help with food, healthcare, mental health, and other resources, call 211 or visit 211.org. 211, Get connected, get help.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit, or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM. Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. Learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com/megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including My Michigan TV, otherwise known as MiMi. Joining us now is Dr. Christian Greer, the president and CEO of the Michigan Science Center, which is competing for the title of USA Today's Best Museum in the U.S. Dr. Greer, thank you so much for joining us.
Tyler, it's good to be with you. Good to see you again.
Good to see you as well. I appreciate having you come on. So currently the leaders in the USA Today's Top 10 Best Museums contest, the Michigan Science Center is number 2. It's surrounded by science centers and museums in the state of Ohio. And I say state in quotations because Ohio, why are we even giving notice to them? The number 1 currently, not for very long, is the Center for Science and Industry in Columbus, Ohio, a far inferior museum to the Michigan Science Center. And number 3 is the Great Lakes Science Center in Cleveland, Ohio. And of course, Ohio is the place that invented stepping on Legos. So we want to make sure the Michigan Science Center wins this contest. Tell us about the Best 10 Science Museums contest through USA Today. And of course, there's going to be great promotion for the Michigan Science Center for being in that top 10, anywhere in that top 10. But what is the benefit of winning this contest?
Well, as you mentioned, Tyler, the benefits are really great, and it's an honor. It's really an honor to be listed among the top 10. The USA Today has a 10 best that they do in their travel section for lots of different things, for restaurants and for national parks and art museums and other kinds of cool stuff. But in the Science Museum section for the last 2 years, we have been nominated at the Michigan Science Center, and it's such an honor to be in there with so many great organizations that are bigger than ours. They have bigger budgets. They have all this, and we're right up at the top. And I have to tell you, I've gotten so many calls from my colleagues at COSI and at the Great Lakes Science Center that we work with in Ohio, and they're wondering just how we do it here in Michigan, but this is what we do. This is how we take care of business. So we were kind of going back and forth and fighting for number 1. We've been number 1 or number 2 for the last 3 weeks. And I have to say that that's exciting. Last year for 2021, we ended up listing as number 4. And I never thought we would get this high, so quickly. But we jumped up the ranks because of all of you out there that have been voting for us. We really appreciate it. And so what it does for us is it just raises our profile and lets people know that Michigan and our Science Center here is a force to be reckoned with nationally. And they get a chance to see all the cool stuff that we do. Like right behind me in the screen here is our planetarium. We have a planetarium, we have an IMAX theater, we have a 4D theater, our Toyota 4D engineering theater, we have a science stage. We have lots of cool things for people to see, and that's what makes us one of the top 10.
And so if people haven't visited other museums from this top 10 list or haven't even gone to the Michigan Science Center, what really makes the Michigan Science Center so unique, not just on a local level here in southeastern Michigan where it's located, on a state level in Michigan and regionally, but all across the U.S. and around the world?
That's a great question. You know, this is probably the 7th museum that I've worked in my career. It's been over 30 years, and I've visited tons and tons of science centers and museums because I'm just a geek about science centers and museums. I love the interactivity. I love the creativity in the way that they express and explain and communicate science, technology, engineering, and math. But the one thing I noticed when I showed up on my first day here is that we played music in the galleries. Now, that might be a small thing, but when you think about Detroit as being a music city, to be able to come in and like listen to music while you're doing science, that was kind of cool. And so I think what we do is not so much the what we do, because we do a lot of things that other science centers do. It's more the way we do it. We do it with flair, we do it with style, we do it with grace, we do it with excitement. And more than anything, we want to demystify science and put you at the center of it.
And so talk about some of that, some of those ways that the Michigan Science Center makes science fun, makes it interactive, because we've talked in the past about a number of different events, about a number of different exhibits that have brought that interactivity in, but whether it's a special event or exhibit or just a regular day at the Michigan Science Center, that's pretty commonplace.
Yeah, that's interesting the way you say that. And as I think about it, I would say that one of the ways that we approach it is how we approach teaching and learning. So, in the best environments, I might venture to say that you can't tell who's the teacher and who's the learner when you have that relationship around learning, right? Because we're, as teachers and as educators, we are trying to find the best way to communicate and be relevant and accessible to people in terms of the content. Because some of the content is kind of challenging. We talk about astrophysical concepts about whether there's dark matter in the universe or not, or we may just describe about mitosis and cell division, or we might talk about viruses and ways in which they might attack cells, healthy cells in the human body. All of this, the way I think to approach it that really works for us is we start with things that are cool first, and then we try to extract the science within them. So we don't necessarily take a topic like momentum, P equals mv, and to determine the momentum of a particle or an object or a car rolling down a hill. What we do is we start talking about cars. And when people are interested in cars, then they learn about the physics of the science and the technology and the math behind it. So Math Alive is an exhibit that we've had this year. It ends towards the the end of April this year. So you definitely need to come see it. It's an exhibit which starts with all the cool things in life and then teaches you the math. So that's the approach that we take in our informal science. A little different than K-12, which is more formal. There's no exams, there's no tests. We just want people to tap into their own innate creativity and intelligence and have fun while doing it.
And what's great is that you're participating in these individual programs that the Michigan Science Center is putting on itself, but also in national partnerships as well to bring in some of these different artifacts and these different exhibits to really give a broad scope of science and other concepts to the people of Michigan and those visiting Michigan and going to the Michigan Science Center.
Yes. As a matter of fact, this Sunday, this isn't open to the public, but this Sunday I'll be on site to meet with our Smithsonian partners. We have what's called a Smithsonian Spark Lab, which is a designated area in our facility that's dedicated to invention education and creating the inventive mindset and inventive spirit in all. And we will be meeting with them to talk about how we want to upgrade our space and do some fun things to get people excited about inventing things. If you think about it, this invention process is something that happens in your head a lot of times. You're in the shower or you're cooking or whatever. You think about an easier way to do something. You come up with an idea and then you see it on TV and you're like, wait a minute, that's my idea, right? Well, this happens every day, and we want kids to learn how to sort of capture those moments and ideas and develop processes to be able to take their invention potentially to market. So this is an important thing that, we're in a very inventive, heavy, part of the country that has a long history of different kinds of inventions, both in terms of products and processes. And it's a nice, fun thing to do. And so making those partnerships with Smithsonian as a Smithsonian affiliate, which we are, is a wonderful way to do that. I'll also mention just quickly, we also work with NASA, the National Aeronautics and Space Administration. Many people are familiar with NASA from the moon landings or the shuttle program, or even the work that NASA is doing with the brand new James Webb Space Telescope. James Webb was a NASA administrator during the moon landings in the process, and it's named after him. And hopefully that particular telescope, which is a space-based telescope, will discover all kinds of cool things, and we'll be bringing them right here to the Michigan Science Center and getting them out to you.
You can learn more about the Michigan Science Center, all their events coming up, and all their exhibits currently, as well as their 4D theater, by visiting their website at mi-sci.org. That's mi-sci.org for more information on the Michigan Science Center. We're joined by its president and CEO, Dr. Christian Greer, on the Michigan Megacast. They're currently number 2 ranked in the USA Today's 10 best museums in the U.S., so right just in between the Center of Science and Industry in Columbus, Ohio, and the Great Lakes Science Center, located in Cleveland, Ohio. And so have you been, Dr. Greer, to either of these museums? Have you been, let's start with, have you been then to the Center of Science and Industry in Columbus, Ohio, a city that can best be described as getting a root canal on your birthday.
Oh, wow, that's rough. I've had a chance to go to both organizations. They are wonderful organizations, and many science centers are very similar, meaning most of them have some sort of big screen, theater, either a flat IMAX or a giant screen theater, or a domed. We have a domed theater, and what's unique about our theater is it's actually in the basement of our facility. You don't think about an IMAX theater actually being underground. So our physical presence, when you come by the Michigan Science Center, looks kind of small, but it's almost like a TARDIS, like a Doctor Who thing. It's bigger on the inside than on the outside because we're vertical. We have a 9,000 square foot special exhibit space where Math Alive is on the vertical, on the 4th floor of our organization. So with COSI, it's more spread out. So they have a planetarium theater like we do. They have an IMAX theater, and they also have banks of exhibit galleries. They're much bigger. They're probably 3 times the size of the Michigan Science Center. So there's a lot of room and a lot of space and great stuff to do. And I will say that we're a member of the Association of Science and Technology Centers. I serve on the board of that organization. It's called ASTC or ASTEC. And if you get a membership to an ASTEC affiliated organization and are part of the Museums for All through AAM, you can actually get general admission to any of these other organizations. So guess what? Come down to the Michigan Science Center, get a membership, and you'll be able to use that to get to some of these other, Ohio-based science centers.
Right, and you'll be able to see for yourself why they're far inferior to the Michigan Science Center.
There you go, right? Tyler, I love it. That's great. Yeah, and Great Lakes Science Center is also a really nice place. They're in Cleveland, and they're right sort of on the lake next to the stadium. And so don't go there on Browns games days, but they have a wonderful, a connection with NASA as well. And they work with a local NASA center that's in their area, and they have a lot of space artifacts, and they do a lot of really great programs. And many science centers, we try to work together, honestly, to help each other. The rising tide lifts all boats, so we do a lot of things that try to raise the level of engagement and quality of STEM programming, and really to do community opportunities as well. So we have a community free day coming up with sponsored by Exalta, Ducks Unlimited, and the Great Lakes Land Conservancy. And it gives us an opportunity on March 20th, it's a Sunday, to be able to host these kinds of programs to get people from our community in. So many of the science centers do a lot of similar things, but what I like about ours is we're just a lot more fun. we try to make science exciting and interesting, and hopefully you walk out feeling like a genius, because you know what? We're all scientists deep down inside. We're all curious. And we have lots of questions, and science helps you find some of those answers.
Yeah, Michigan Science Center is a very fun location. They do have a lot of fun down there, and they provide fun, of course, for the community, not only in Detroit, but in all of Michigan, and for those that are visiting from places like Cleveland, where their city's favorite sport is playing soccer with an anvil. We're joined by Dr. Christian Greer. He is the president and CEO of the Michigan Science Center, number 2 currently in the rankings in the voting for the USA Today's top 10 best museums in the U.S. So when does this voting go through and go until, and how can people here in Michigan support the greatest museum in the entire country, the Michigan Science Center, which is for some reason ranked number 2? There's got to be an error there.
This is why I love the Megacast, right? Because you just put it right on out there for everybody. This is really important for us in Michigan, I think, to have top-ranked organizations. This is one of the things that attracts tourism. It attracts families to come and move here. It attracts people to take new jobs at some of our great organizations and industry and companies that are ranked some of the best in the world. And the cultural scene is really important. So we're based in Midtown, and the Cultural District is a place where we have lots of cool museums, like the Charles H. Wright and African American History Museum, as well as the Detroit Historical Museum and the DIA for art, and several other organizations that are here, like the Scarab Club and the car center, as well as the library. And we're all based in one area in Midtown. We're on the corner of John R. and Warren, and that's where our building is. And we've got ample parking for you to come down and check us out. But it's just a wonderful thing because we have lots of cool events. You know, if I may just take a quick second just to talk about our Axalta Free Day. You may be familiar with the company Axalta that does coatings for various vehicles and cars. Well, this Free Day, which will be on March 20th, that's Sunday, it's coming up, its theme is Discover Magic. And we're hoping to have this free day or free general admission for Axalta. We'll be partnering with Ducks Unlimited and Six Rivers Land Conservancy for their support in helping us spark wonder and stretch the imaginations of young learners. And the color for this year, the global automotive color of the year from Axalta is called Royal Magenta. Royal Magenta. So I'd love to get a brand new car with Royal Magenta. That sounds fantastic. But it's a majestic and radiant dark purple hue, and it has kind of a mysterious, appearance, something that you'd see in a Harry Potter type movie. And Royal Magenta is going to be the 2022 color of the year for Axalta. So we're very excited to talk about that. We'll have science demonstrations. We'll do various magic related activities like the tablecloth trick, in which you pull a tablecloth out from under some dishes in a place setting. We'll be talking about spectra in space and filtered light, disappearing water and how materials can absorb water. And I think we also have something called Math Magicians, and it's a lesson in using probability calculations to fool and trick the mind and the senses. So it'll be a lot of fun happening on Sunday, March 20th, our Axalta Free Day, Discover Magic.
You can learn more information about Sunday, March 20th, Axalta Free Day at the Michigan Science Center, and more about all their programs and events by visiting their website at mi-sci.org. That's mi-sci.org. We're joined by Dr. Christian Greer, the president and CEO of the Michigan Science Center. So if people want to vote for the Michigan Science Center in the USA Today's Top 10 Best Museums contest, and they do, how can they go about voting?
Well, it's pretty easy. Essentially, you can just do a Google search and to go to USA Today, 10 Best Science Museums for 2022. And it should bring it right up. You'll see all the different museums there, and you just select the Michigan Science Center. So again, go to a quick Google search to USA Today, 10 Best, the 10 Best Science Centers. We're currently ranked number 2, or actually when you vote for us, it may not show the rankings because towards the end, the rankings go dark, but before they went dark, we were at number 2. We hope to be number 1. You can help us get there. Again, search for USA Today 10 Best Science Museums for 2022 and go to the Michigan Science Center.
Dr. Greer, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Appreciate it. You can learn more about the Michigan Science Center, of course, at their website, mi-sci.org. That is mi-sci.org. To vote in the USA Today's 10 Best competition for best science museums in the U.S., go to 10best.com/awards. Navigate over to the travel section of those awards, and under travel, you will have an option for best science museum. So you can vote for the Michigan Science Center, which is currently wedged in between the number 3 Great Lakes Science Center in Cleveland, Ohio, otherwise known as Purgatory on Earth, and the Center of Science and Industry in Columbus, Ohio, where people go when they lose the Super Bowl as opposed to Disney World. We're going to take a break here on the Megacast. On the other side, we have one more guest today. We'll head over to the Rouge River and speak with the executive director of the Friends of the Rouge, Mary McCormick. That's up next. This is the Michigan Megacast.
Whether you're the city,
the county,
or the Huron River Watershed Council,
we work together to protect water resources for everyone.
Most of the pollution entering our rivers is carried by rainwater that runs off roads, parking lots, and rooftops.
A rain garden helps catch stormwater runoff.
Rain gardens and their plants help dirty runoff soak into the ground.
You can do your part to help keep our water clean.
Learn about rain gardens and native plants.
So consider a rain garden in your home landscaping.
Catch the runoff with a rain garden.
There's one water, and it's ours to protect.
I couldn't breathe at all. There was lots of talk about putting me on a ventilator. I thought I was gonna die. I was 39 weeks pregnant and had a scheduled C-section. During that time, I got COVID and was hospitalized for a month. I had a blood clot in my lungs. It caused me to go into right-sided heart failure. I was really scared. I kept texting my husband and my mom. telling them how scared I was, and I was worried that he was gonna grow up without a mom. And then I was worried if, when I did get home, that he wouldn't know who I was. You know, being 27 and a mom and a wife and having that all almost taken away from me. It's scary, and if a vaccine can prevent that from happening, why not? Get your vaccine. I don't want this to happen to anybody else.
A message from the staff of Michigan's Crime Victim Compensation Program.
Anyone can be a victim of crime
and suffer lasting trauma, physically, emotionally, and financially.
But you are not alone.
If you're struggling financially due to a crime,
we're here for you.
Find out if you qualify for crime victim compensation.
Call 877-251-7373 or visit michigan.gov/crime-victim.
A message from the Michigan Department of Health and Human Services, Division of Victim Services.
If you are struggling to afford your internet bills during the pandemic, there's a temporary government program that may be able to help. It's called the Emergency Broadband Benefit, and it provides up to a $50 monthly discount on your broadband bill to qualifying households. Find more information about the program, including if you qualify and how to enroll, at fcc.gov/broadbandbenefit or call toll-free at 833-511-0311.
A public service announcement from 89.3 Lakes FM.
You see certain things get reincarnated in your children. My daughter is very much inspired by my wife's artistic pursuits. So my daughter started making necklaces. She makes what we call affirmation fashion. I tell her every day that your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. Your black is beautiful. And if there's anything better than being beautiful, it's being smart. And if there's anything better than being smart, it's being kind. And reaffirming that every day is our method of making sure her chin never drops. My dad wasn't around, and I remember riding a bike and falling off and cutting myself, and me never just wanting to get back on it. People ask, how your children learn how to ride a bike, and you didn't. I didn't teach them. I just created an environment where they taught themselves, and all I had to do was be there.
Welcome back to the Michigan Megacast. I'm Tyler Keefe. To learn more about the program at civiccentertv.com by clicking on our Megacast link or typing in civiccentertv.com/Megacast, where you'll find information on our entire network of stations, including right here on My Michigan TV. Joining us now is one of the nearly 300 charities and nonprofits supported by Share Detroit, the Friends of the Rouge. Their executive director, Marie McCormick, joins me now on the Michigan Megacast. Marie, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. It's a pleasure to be here.
Yeah, good to have
you.
Yeah, good to have you with us. So first off, if you just tell us, for those that are unfamiliar, what is the Friends of the Rouge and the inspiration behind this nonprofit?
So Friends of the Rouge is a 501c3 nonprofit, like you just mentioned. We're one of many nonprofits in the Metro Detroit area. We were formed in 1986 as a environmental nonprofit meant to clean up the Rouge River. We are one of 43 Great Lakes areas of concern, and our organization helps preserve, protect, and enhance the Rouge River and its watershed through education, stewardship, and collaborative processes. So our watershed encompasses 48 different communities and is 467 square miles.
We're joined by Marie McCormick, Executive Director of the Friends of the Rouge River, joining us on the Megacast, a Share Detroit-supported charity and nonprofit. More information from Share Detroit on their website, sharedetroit.org. So can you tell us about how the Rouge River how far it actually stretches in southeastern Michigan? Because we would know about it if you're in the local area surrounding the Rouge River, but it actually extends for quite a space.
Yeah, thanks for asking. It's quite an extensive urban majority watershed. It covers 48 communities, like I mentioned, 3 counties. So it covers sort of the southern half of Oakland County, a large portion of Wayne County, and then the eastern half of Washtenaw County. So like the northern tip would be Bloomfield Hills, Rochester Hills, and then kind of sweeping over to the west, you're going to get into Novi, South Lyon, and then Plymouth Township, and then sweeping south. You have like Dearborn Heights, all the way through Dearborn, Allen Park, Melvindale, and then the Rouge actually empties out in the city of River Rouge, where it joins the Detroit River.
And so, Marie, what are some of the current restoration projects that are being undergone in the Rouge River? Because many of our river systems, like many of our bodies of water in the state of Michigan, from industry, from years of industry impact, from the changes in our environment because of man-made factors and natural factors as well, they've taken a lot of hits in recent times. And so restoration is part of the effort for a greener future in the southeastern Michigan area and across the state of Michigan and all around the U.S.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. The Rouge River has been subject to a lot of restoration work over the last 30 plus years. Since the Clean Water Act came into fruition in 1972, there has been over $1 billion of investment in restoring the Rouge River. As I mentioned, in 1987, the Rouge River was designated as an area of concern. So that actually funnels in a special federally designated dollars to help large-scale habitat restoration projects happen in the Rouge River. So there's some really large multi-million-dollar projects that are underway right now, some of which are removing and capping legacy contaminants, kind of like what you mentioned earlier, around sort of that history of pollution in the Rouge. But there's also smaller scale projects. So we have projects happening in the Rouge that are, backyard rain gardens, restoring and creating habitat, reducing heat island effect, combating the impacts of climate change right in your own neighborhood. So you can check out our website for a lot of the projects that are happening. The Rouge River Advisory Council oversees the area of concern that I was kind of mentioning around those really large scale habitat projects. Projects that might be of interest to folks are the concrete channel that runs through the city of Dearborn. It's a sort of concrete funnel of water that was created in the 70s to help mitigate flooding. Is now a site for some really great upland habitat restoration work, some connection of historic oxbows, as well as some new wetland creation, and sort of pairing that, not only the habitat piece, but also how are humans going to interact and benefit from that habitat improvement and creation of access to those greenways and blueways.
More information on therouge.org, therouge.org, for more information from the Friends of the Rouge. We're joined by Executive Director Marie McCormick on the Michigan Megacast. And so you have many upcoming events and activities ongoing and, of course, upcoming through the Friends of the Rouge that the community can participate in. Can you tell us about some of these different activities and events that are regularly happening and special events also coming up?
Sure. Thanks for asking. One of our really upcoming events is our End of the Winter Paddle. That's coming up March 19th, so you can sign up for that on our website. If you're a hardy paddler and you're okay with some cooler weather, we do have paddle events throughout the year that you can check out and sign up for. You don't have to have a boat. We provide boats for you. We also have our an event that's coming up this spring. We need lots and lots of volunteers to help us with a floodplain tree planting project over the course of 4 weeks. We need hundreds, if not thousands, of volunteers to plant over 13,000 trees in the city of Inkster along the Rouge River to help restore the floodplain there. We also have our annual meeting coming up on April 6th. That's an annual event. And then we'll have an afterglow party at Downey Brewing Company in the city of Dearborn, a chance to meet and greet all the staff and the board, ask us any of your burning questions. And then in April, we have our spring bug hunt that happens every year. So you can go out with your family, scoop bugs out of the river and count them. It's a really great way to involve your family in some great educational activities while also helping provide some important data for us as we make decisions about where to decide where we're going to do the next restoration projects, and help inform our elected and appointed officials, as well as the state and local regulators on improvements that might need to be made.
So Marie, there's many ways that individuals and families in the surrounding areas of the Rouge River can support restoration without necessarily participating in those major restoration projects or even volunteering with the organization. They can do these things right at their own homes, in their communities, at their places of work. What are some of these different ways that people can take action to support this important waterway in southeastern Michigan?
Thank you so much for asking. I think you see all these large projects and you think, well, how can I make a difference? You make all the difference, right? Southeast Michigan is 50% single family homes or residential areas. So, put a rain barrel in, plant native plants, create habitat for pollinators, build a rain garden, even simple things like removing turf and lawn, removing non-porous or non-permeable surfaces from your property, clearing out your gutter, not flushing fats, oils, and greases down the drain. These are really simple ways that you can help improve your waterways and make a difference at home.
We're joined by Marie McCormick, the Executive Director of the Friends of the Rouge, joining us on the Megacast, one of 282 supported charities and nonprofits through Share Detroit. More information on Share Detroit at sharedetroit.org. We can learn more about the Friends of the Rouge and 281 other charities and nonprofits. Support them through donations, also through individual items that may be of use to these organizations as well. To learn more about the Friends of the Rouge, you can visit their website at therouge.org, where you can learn more information about rain gardens, about supporting this local waterway in southeastern Michigan, and how you can get involved with the Friends of the Rouge. And so, Marie, if people want to find more info and people want to support the Friends of the Rouge at this moment in time, what are the best ways that people in southeastern Michigan and surrounding areas, or all throughout Michigan, that may want to support the Friends of the Rouge can support this nonprofit organization?
Well, obviously, like I mentioned before, taking action in your own home, in your own neighborhood, and in your own community is a great way, to begin. If you want to get involved with our organization, we have about almost 200 different events that you can participate in each year. And you don't have to get in the river to participate. We have lots of different ways that you can learn through workshops, webinars, trainings. But if you want to get your hands dirty, we have rain garden plantings, bug hunts, frog and toad surveys, fish surveys. There's just a myriad of different ways that you can get involved in your local backyard river. And then, of course, become a member. Join our membership that's continuing to grow, and really investing in making sure that your backyard river is healthy for your children and your future generations.
We're joined by Marie McCormick, the Executive Director of the Friends of the Rouge, joining us on the Megacast. Marie, just another minute or so with you before we'll need to say goodbye. Anything else at this time that would be important for our audience across the state of Michigan to know about the Friends of the Rouge?
This organization's been around for 3.5 decades. It's just an absolute honor to be a part of it. The people just make it wonderful to be a part of. And I invite you also to become part of the work that we do. And I think it's just so important to have a community as part of this work, and we couldn't do it without you. So please do join in.
Marie, thank you so much for your time.
Thanks so much. Have a great day.
You as well. You can learn more information again at therouge.org to learn more about the Friends of the Rouge, or by visiting sharedetroit.org, where you can learn more about the Friends of the Rouge and how you can support them financially through volunteer opportunities as well, and with items that may be of use to that organization. You can do the same with 281 other charities and nonprofits in Detroit and in the metropolitan area in southeastern Michigan surrounding Detroit, so you can help nonprofits and charities do the great work that they they do in all of our communities. That is going to do it for today's edition of the Michigan Megacast. You can learn more information, of course, on our website at civiccentertv.com/megacast. We have information about every single one of our partnering television, radio, and web outlets, including My Michigan TV, located at mymitv.com, mymitv.com, so you can learn more information. Find us on demand there as well, and of course, download the free My Michigan TV apps for your smartphone and your smart TV, so you can take My on the road with you and enjoy My in the comfort of your own home as well. Big thank you to all of our guests for joining us on today's edition of the Michigan Megacast. James Pappas, the owner of Fusco, Shaffer and Pappas Architects and Planners. Melanie Ducanel, the president and CEO of the Michigan Better Business Bureau. Hillary Nussbaum, corresponding clinician and therapist at Dr. Kendall and Associates. Dr. Christian Greer from the Michigan Science Center, and of course, Friends of the Rouge Executive Director Marie McCormick. All of those interviews also on our website, civiccentertv.com/megacast. Usually mid to late afternoon is when we will have all of our full shows and each interview from today's edition of the Megacast posted on our website, but we always have all of our past episodes leading all the way back to nearly 2 years ago to the date when we began this program in March of 2020. civiccentertv.com/megacast. Also, highly encourage you to go over to our coronavirus page at civiccentertv.com/coronavirus to stay up to date on everything that you need to know about COVID-19. As we're very close to being below that 3% threshold for community spread in most of Michigan's counties. However, COVID-19 is still out there. It's still considered a pandemic on the local, state, federal, and worldwide scale. We still need to be cautious and to keep up to date on what you can be doing, both keeping informed about the spread of COVID-19, precautionary tactics that you can employ in your daily life, and so on. civiccentertv.com/coronavirus, where we also have our 3 top headlines from each and every day that we broadcast our show live from 10 a.m. until 12 noon. Big thank you as well to our crew for making this program possible. Our technical director, Calvin Brown, in here switching all of our cameras, making everything look nice, and also running our audio board over here so we can see and hear everything on each edition of the Megacast. Jared Clark over at the office of My Michigan TV, our Zoom producer on this edition of the Megacast. The king of television, Larry Nyland, our producer, getting everybody ready to join us every day and helping us get ready to have informative conversations with people all across the great state of Michigan, and Maddie Mushkin out at Master Control. On My Michigan TV, Steve Lato Live is next, followed by Larry and Maddie Live. We will return Monday morning at 10 a.m.